speaking of people letting us down, you've been a one-man TYT demolition crew recently. I'm not going to lie, I've loved every minute of it, and I wanted to mention, you know, to TYT and Cenk's credit, back in the day, I don't know if Bernie's 2016, whatever that is now, the revolution, the progressive awakening, I don't know if it would have taken off the way it did without TYT, progressive media, independent media. TYT, woke a lot of people up or introduced Bernie and progressive policies to a lot of people. So when I see, this tweet today, it's like in a row of other terrible tweets and takes. Cenk Uygur, my former boss there, I'm proud that TYT is not in any camp. We point out BS of Democrats and Republicans. We point out absurdities of those in the extreme left that weirdly have become obsessed with defending Russia. The establishment lies incessantly to protect the status quo, and Trump is a lunatic. I used to call them a coked out version of MSNBC, but now they're just MSNBC because extreme left, that's the kind of language you hear on cable news. The radical left, yes. Far left, the extreme left. And I don't know if for 5 years, 80% of your stuff has been loser Donald and tyrannical Donald, I would say you are in a camp.
Come on, Jordan, for Cenk Uygur to try to pretend that he hasn't chosen a side. Are you fucking kidding me? The guy's if you didn't vote for Hillary, I was called every name in the book at the Young Turks on air because I wouldn't vote for Hillary. You're telling me that guy didn't pick a side? Are you shitting me? The guy, he is Mr. Partisan. He's tweeting out things about today. He tweeted out about how the Republicans are committed to starting violence. And if you don't think this, you're a dupe. And he's just as big a partisan hack as there could ever possibly be. The reason why me and all my friends who worked for the Young Turks stopped watching the Young Turks in 2016 was because he became just another arm of the Clinton campaign. That it was discussed. Loser Donald doing 55 minutes out of an hour show shitting on Donald Trump, and you're telling me that you're somehow independent, that you're calling fastball, you're just calling balls and strikes. I mean, everybody sees through TYT and the Young Turks, which is why nobody's watching them anymore. They don't even get half as many live stream viewers as my show does, and I'm a jagoff comedian in my garage, and that's not hyperbole. And they've got a public relations firm. They've got 80 employees. They've got 20 executives. They've got managers and middle managers and supervisors. And they've got they've got marketing. And they get less than half the live stream viewers than my show gets in my garage. They got $24 million from right ringers and corporatists, and they get half the live stream viewers as I get in my garage. Well, that just tells you that people see through them. 9 out of 10 paying members to the Young Turks, 9 out of 10 supported Force the Vote. And I think that was the watershed moment for them. They're like, hey, I've had enough. And I think they're all abandoning ship.
And I also think, going back to, I said it's such a wasted opportunity right now for the House and Senate progressives, because you couldn't have better conditions for a progressive revolt. Right. And here you have a company with actual resources. I mean, Stat was literally scratching quarters together to go out in the field, report in Flint and many other places that no one else is covering. We actually go out there with way less resources than TYT, yet they've got resources. I don't know where that $20 million went, because they were begging people to give them money during a pandemic. I don't know where the 20 million went, or the 2 million that they fundraised. But, it's such a squandered opportunity. They don't go out and report. They don't cover a lot of progressive issues. They're not covering the Standing Rock stories anymore, the Flint stories anymore. It's basically telling us what we already know, that Republicans are terrible. And they're honestly going into a lot of the culture war stuff. And at a certain point, you have to wonder, I mean, what is the motivation here? It can't just be that there's no motive driving it, Jimmy.
Their motive was Cenk Uygur wanted to be bigger than CNN. He told me that. Yeah, their motive was that they know. I was told by an executive at TYT after they took that $20 million, Jimmy, we know we have to move to the center. That's what we were told. We couldn't swear on TV anymore. We had to wear suit coats. That It was all this shit that came. I was like, what? This is really happening? You guys are becoming what you're supposed to be the antidote to? Of course. So it's all Cenk, Cenk Uyghur's ego, which was his greatest strength, which gave him the ability to create a company like that. But it also is now taking him down because he was so hungry to be seen as big as CNN that he went corporate, took the money, sold out what got him popular in the first place, and now everybody's abandoning ship, and he sees that his career, the days are numbered for the Young Turks. They're no longer ever going to be who they ever were, and that's why he's using terminology like the far extreme left. What? I remember when they used to write articles about the Young Turks saying they were the extreme left, and now Cenk Uygur's like, look at the extreme left. It's like, well, when you're welcome on Chris Cuomo, I guess you're no longer perceived as a threat by the establishment. And that's why Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian are welcomed on Chris Cuomo's show. And we'll never call out Chris Cuomo.
And honestly, I mean, real quick, I remember when I was at TYT, and again, it was a great opportunity. I got to cover a lot of great things, but I mean, Cenk dragged my ass down to Washington for the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I'm like, why the hell are we down here for the White House Correspondents' Dinner? Oh, no, we're having a party. We're inviting other outlets, this and that. It was all people from like the Huffington Post and, these quote unquote liberal outlets. And he was having the time of his life, like hobnobbing with a lot of these corporate quote unquote journalists. And I was just like, something's not right here. I mean, whatever, they have a business, whatever, but like, don't you exist to shit on the White House Correspondents' Dinner? It just, they've literally, it seems, lost their way. I mean, it's good for you. Obviously, your viewership is taking off. But it's really sad to me for the progressive movement that they have become this, honestly, second version of MSNBC.
What at least you know what's weird is the bullshitting around it, trying to pretend, just like that tweet today, trying to pretend we haven't picked a side. Really, you guys are just as cool with the Republicans as you are with the Democrats. You fucking liars. It's just that the amount of lying and gaslighting and bullshitting and televangelist style fundraising that the Young Turks has to do to stay above water. It's just, is it worth it? What are you doing? Why do you need 80 people to do the same show that I could do with 3? Why do you need all those people? I don't understand. Anyway, it's, I do understand. Cenk Uygur wanted to be as big as CNN, and he thought him getting on that YouTube TV app, he thought that was going to be a game changer, and that was going to put him up there with CNN. And of course, nobody wants to watch your content. I mean, that's the whole thing was you were an outsider, Cenk. You were the alternative news. And just like when I told Cenk after the election in 2016, when they would have their power panel and they would have 4 Hillary voters on their power panel, I go, Cenk, you're not alternative news. When you have everybody that could be an MSNBC panel, you're not alternative. You should have someone on that panel that didn't vote for Hillary Clinton and didn't vote for Donald Trump. That'd be in a real alternative news show. And he said, no, thanks. You're not allowed. You're not welcome on. I said, could you put me on the panel? He said, no, thanks. I'm not going to put you on the Friday panel. And I said, why? I'm the most popular host besides you. And he goes, because I have to make another Jimmy Dore. What? You have to. By the way, how did that work out? Did you end up making another Jimmy Dore? How did that work out for you?
For the record, I told him you should put Jimmy before you. Put him 5:30, a half-hour show like the Young Turks daily. I mean, it would be good for your viewership. It would be good for your company. You'd probably get a lot more paid members. And then he put you behind a paywall, from what I remember.
Well, that's exactly what the show was supposed to be, because the Young Turks hosted by Cenk and Anna got so horrible that none of us could watch it none of us aggressive progressives could watch it anymore. So we came up with an idea to do a show that would rebut what the Young Turks were doing. And we were going to put it on at 6 o'clock, like after Cenk, right? And so we would put it on an hour after him. And he said yes. And so we all got excited. And then the week before it started, he goes, hey, it's going behind a paywall. And then that was that. So that's who Cenk Uygur is. The good thing is, I think because of Force the Vote, everybody sees it now. And everybody sees now they're smearing Aaron Mate. So he's literally, Aaron Mate's he's debunking the pro-war CIA narrative. He's on the ground in Syria debunking that bullshit pro-war narrative. Cenk Uygur is pushing it. when he says, why are you defending Russia? He's referring to Aaron Mate, who won an award for debunking Russiagate, whereas Cenk ruined his reputation pushing McCarthy smears. And now he's McCarthy smearing a true independent, award-winning journalist, Aaron Mate, who's on the ground in Syria. So Cenk, instead of doing vague smears on your show with Anna and doing vague smears in your tweets, why wouldn't you? Where's your reporter on the ground in Syria? You got $24 million from right-wingers and corporatists. You don't have a reporter to go to Syria to debunk what Aaron Mate said? All you're going to do is say he's defending Russians like a true hack that Cenk Uygur is? I mean, there's no lower rung that you can be as a human being, let alone journalist, than the rung Cenk Uygur's on right now. McCarthy smearing people, risking their lives, sticking their chin out to go against the CIA narrative and the establishment narrative on war, an anti-war journalist who's gotten it right so often. He testifies in front of the UN and he won an independent news award for it. And Cenk Uygur's going to smear that guy as defending Russians, because that's all Cenk Uygur has is smears, because he's an empty person with no integrity. And his company is done. He sees he's not getting any views. He sees it's over with. He's got to get another corporate funding to stay alive, or his company's going bankrupt. And that's why he's doing reckless McCarthy smears. And by the way, I bet he's going to get sued for that. They took down that episode. So if you go to the episode where they called Aaron Mate taking money from the Russians, all that stuff, if you go to the TYT.com, they've scrubbed that episode. So they know they're doing wrong things. And this isn't, Cenk Uygur is not an honest actor. Cenk Uygur is being revealed for the duplicitous, hack, grifting, liar, corporatist sucker that he is. And everybody sees it.